And then let your thumbs reach up so that you can feel your bottom rib, and your pinkies reach down so you can feel the crest of the ilium, the top of the pelvis. So it's kind of like a hang loose a little bit with the hands, with the thumb and pinky reaching out away from one another, and start to curl the sacrum up so that the space underneath the fingertips shortens. And then set the pelvis back down. Sync this with your breath, using the exhale to gently lift the pelvis and feel the space between thumb and pinky shorten, and then set the pelvis back down as you inhale. Move nice and slow. Try to feel how as the pelvis lifts, you get a little extra feedback along the blanket where the other vertebrae are pressing down to support you. And start to notice how the pelvis lifting creates a sense of the rib cage and the pelvis becoming more parallel to one another. So kind of like in an ideal Tadasana position where the front of the body is supporting and there's no rib splay. As there's weight in the feet, give yourself permission to change where the feet are. You want to make sure the knees feel supported. It's always helpful to have a little extra anchoring of the big toe and let the knees drift towards the pinkies, or the little toe, so that the knees feel spacious. But really keep the focus on the pelvis and the rib cage becoming parallel, and then releasing the parallel as the pelvis comes back down. The next time the pelvis lifts into that paralleling position, pause there and make sure you can breathe naturally without any strain. And you should notice now when you breathe that the belly doesn't rise and fall in the same way because the core musculature is engaged. And instead, there's a little more action happening in the diaphragm. If you want the feedback of the hands here, you can bring the hands up to the bottom rib and or the sides of the rib cage, and notice on the inhale what happens as the rib cage expands laterally. You might feel those bottom ribs pressing into the hands. And then reach the hands towards the heels, press them down, and ever so gently reach the knees forward to lift the hips a little higher, getting a massage over the upper spine. Make sure the back of the neck is nice and long. Tuck the chin a little bit, close the mouth. And then set the spine back down and start to allow the spine to smear from side to side of your blanket, massaging the muscles along the spine. I find it helpful to widen my feet as I do that so the knees feel really supported. If you find a spot, for me it's right inside my right shoulder, that needs a little extra massaging, feel free to stay there and windshield wiper the legs a little bit, or make whatever tiny movements help you bring extra focus and pressure to that little spot. And then come back to center, set the hips down, and let the legs extend just to allow the front of the hips to open for a moment. Make sure the low back feels okay with this option. If it doesn't, it's totally fine to bend the knees again. If you're, well, actually, let's have a moment of silence here, just absorbing that subtle core work and soaking in the breath. And here the rib cage and the pelvis are no longer parallel, and just notice if you can sense that. If you can sense the relationship between those parts of the body. And then start to bend the knees, soles of feet back to the floor. If you're following along with the playlist, you can hit play on the first track. And then once again, reach the hands towards the feet. Make sure the elbows are pressing down, so there is going to be a little bend in the elbows, unlike bridge pose normally. And start to reach the knees forward and a little wide to lift the hips up again. And let's just take a few of these nice gentle lifts and lowers, and resist the urge to lift as high as possible. Instead, become very interested in whichever vertebra is pressing into the blanket as the lower vertebra is lifting. And so that might mean moving a little slower. Sometimes you'll find an area where it's hard to lift just one vertebra at a time. Pause there and breathe and see if you can lift and lower a couple of times just to awaken a little extra sensitivity. Usually you have the muscular strength, and it's just a lack of having the neurological pathway. So patience and focus, just bringing your attention there is often the key. And next time the hips lower, let the knees rock over to the left, gently roll towards the left, push up with the right hand, coming into a staggered position like Bharadvajasana. Okay, should be facing me. Did I cue that right? Okay. Most people are facing me. I don't know what happened here. Gently twist to the left. And if this is uncomfortable, you can scooch your hips onto your blanket as long as it's right there. So make sure the left hip feels supported, and then push down into the left leg, letting the whole left side of the body open. And we're going to do something that we'd never do in my yoga classes ever. We're going to hold this pose. So notice if you're feeling this in a single area, maybe the shoulder, maybe the hip, and see if you can adapt and soften so that there's a sense of evenness through the whole body. It might mean bending the elbow a little bit or pushing down into the legs so you've got a little extra support. And just like we did on our back, start to breathe. Start to fill the space of this shape with your awareness. You can close the eyes if you would like. And as you breathe here, your pose might change. You might discover like, oh, I really want to open my rib cage more, right? You can play with having the heart point down a little bit or up a little bit. Give yourself the space to feel what your body actually wants. Ooh, Holly's doing something really lovely. You can bend your elbow and rest your forearm. See, she was listening and her body was like, I don't want to hold my arm up. So don't. Find that space where you feel really nourished. That's what this practice is about. And then gently start to let the rib cage pull down, bringing the spine back to neutral. Release the upper arm and pause for a second where you are, just absorbing that work. And then start to wake up the left hand by pawing it around just in front of you. Keep the elbow really springy. And as you bend the elbow, make sure it's pointing in towards the body. You want to make sure the neck and shoulder stay really soft here, and it's really more about the arm and the space behind the shoulder blade, the back body supporting you. Can get bouncy with it. The arm can lift as much as you want. If you can even go right back into the shape that we were before. We'll just take a few more breaths. This is your practice, so if your body is craving something that I'm not cueing, you always have permission. In fact, I'll probably see it and think it's a good idea and then copy you. And then start to prepare to lift both arms. So maybe get the bouncing a little more dramatic. And then eventually we'll end up with both arms overhead, and you might notice a difference through right and left sides just because we only bounced on one side. Slowly roll through center, lifting the knees, and then allow the knees to drop over to the other side. Now you're twisting to the right, same exact thing that we just did, so it's okay that you can't see me, or you can always turn around. So left hand to right thigh, gently twist to the right. Take a couple of breaths, allowing the legs to support you, allowing the spine to gently twist from the bottom up. Be tender with the neck. Keep a lot of space in the back of the neck. And then gently lift the right arm, letting the right side of the body open. You can imagine lifting the right hip just a little bit to allow the whole right side to expand evenly without splaying the side ribs. And then we'll hold this for several breaths, so let your body adapt and adjust. We're not seeking a stretch sensation, but rather a sense of being really supported and light. At any time, you can play with bending, the elbow resting, and the hand on the back of the head. It's not lazy. It's getting an amazing stretch through the tricep. It's skillful. Yoga teaches us how to be skillful so we don't waste our precious energy. Breathe into that right side. Feel the lung and rib cage open. And then release the right hand down. Paw it out on the mat. Let the elbow bend and start to make your little bounces, favoring the pinky side of the hand. I'm going to turn just so I can see you. Oh, Chris, you're in a pretty place. Of course. And start to have fun with it. The body's getting warmer and more adaptable, so you can place your hands in different areas and notice how that wakes up different muscles on the back body, or if the hand comes forward, you might feel more in your pecs, in your front of your body. As long as it feels good, it is good. If it doesn't feel good, don't do that. And then we're making our way towards lifting both arms, but take your time. Just start to feel some hang time as you bounce, and notice how your body can support you more and more. Start to feel the shoulder girdle stacking on the rib cage, and then eventually pause, lift both arms. Hopefully there's a little more sense of symmetry even though we're in an asymmetrical pose. Feel the spaciousness through the shoulders and the arms. And then start to lift the knees so you're back at center. Release the arms down. Bring the soles of the feet together for Baddha Konasana, and take one moment to relax and just see where the knees release to. Walk the heels a little further forward, especially if you just dragged the heels in by like a pattern. Create a diamond with the legs and then try relaxing them. And then start to squeeze the soles of the feet towards one another. So the big toes should be touching, mirror images with the feet. And notice as the feet squeeze, if the knees lift a little bit from where they were. And then release that and play with that. Start to sync it with the exhale, squeezing the feet, letting the knees lift. And so what we're doing here is we're activating the deep front line. That starts at the soles of the feet and goes up the soleus into the adductors, all the way into the pelvic floor and the deep core. So start to notice on that lifting, if you can get a little more lift through the spine. See if you can press the tongue into the roof of the mouth and feel the connection between the feet pressing and the tongue and all the space in between. You can allow the arms to play almost like mimicking what the knees are doing. Can be fun. And the next time you lift and you feel that core support, place the soles of the feet down where they were and slowly lower back onto your bolster, one vertebra at a time. And then release the arms down. Pause for just a moment. And then interlace the hands behind the head to open the chest and let the elbows be heavy. My elbows end up being on my head blanket, so I've got a little extra support, which feels really nice. Take a couple of breaths into the chest, letting those muscles soften. And then reach the knees forward, lifting the hips into bridge pose. Set one vertebra down at a time. And then use your exhale to lift the pelvis, finding that parallel that we played with before. Keep that parallel. Press the bottom rib down and slowly curl the head up. And this should feel really easeful. If it doesn't, try to lift from that bottom rib space, so that bottom of the trapezius, so it's not coming from the neck and the shoulders, but it's coming from lower. And then power down into the right foot, lift the left foot, and slowly let the left foot drop, rolling up to seated. Yay! Good job, Charlotte. Yes, you got it. And then I know we paused here. Next time there will be a little bit more momentum here, and you'll let your left elbow gently drag forward into a little twist, so you're looking at your bent knee. Next time it'll be a little smoother. Push down into the right foot to slowly roll up to center. Drag the left foot in, and then recline one vertebra at a time. Keep your hands where they are. Gently peel the spine off of the bolster. And then set the spine down. This time, see if you can, instead of putting the pelvis all the way down, pause when you're at that parallel moment, when the core is really supported and the rib cage and the pelvis are connected to one another. And then push down into the bottom rib and notice how the head starts to lift. Push into the left foot, lift the right foot, and then drop the right foot to roll up. Heavy right elbow allows you to gently twist to the left. Yes, you got it. Push down into the left foot, slowly rolling up to center. Drag the right foot in, and then set the spine down. So that's all we're doing, but we're going to repeat it a bunch of times so it can feel really easy and smooth for you. I'll talk you through it. So we lift the hips into bridge, and then set the hips down until you find that nice parallel space where the core is naturally engaged. Push down into the bottom rib to float the head. Lift the left foot and drop the left leg, rolling up. Heavy left elbow takes you into that easeful twist. And then push into the right foot, rolling up. Drag the left foot in and slowly roll back down. Next step is bridge. And then find your core support. Push down into the bottom rib, hollowing the body. Head gets light. Lift the other leg and roll up. Same elbow drop, so you twist towards the bent knee. Nice. Or whatever way you want, yeah, Davy, as long as it feels good. And then slowly drag the leg in and recline. And I want to watch you guys, so keep going. If anything feels really good and you want to hold it, like that modified Janu Shirshasana twist, you're more than welcome to. And the key moment is feeling that support on the spine as you curl up. The head should feel really light. Oh, beautiful. Yeah, Davy. This is a modification of that thing you invented in Dance of Shakti. And be delicate with the neck. Make sure there's a lot of space, not just in the back of the neck, but the front of the neck as well. Make sure you're breathing. Make sure you're enjoying the process of letting the body unfold without any attachment into what that looks like or how far you're going. Chris, that was a great shot of your foot. And take one more to each side. And we'll finish seated upright. You don't need to rush to get there. No rushing allowed. I'm so proud of you. No one is seated yet. Just so you know, you're all not rushing. I just want you to feel that camaraderie of how awesome you all are as a group. When you do make it up to seated, if it would feel good, you can extend both legs and allow the whole body to drape forward for one moment with just as much ease, right? Where you're not even thinking about where you're going, but you're just allowing the body to unfold, or fold, I guess. And then push down into the heels, gently rolling up. Cross the right ankle in front of the left. Place the left hand behind you. Lift the right hand. Push down into the left hand to lift the hips and drop the knees, pivoting into tabletop, looking at your props. Take your top blanket and stack it on the other two and then even them out so you've got one more normal bolster, and then turn it perpendicular to what it was before, placing it towards the center of your mat. Take a moment. You don't need to rush or panic. If you have finished, you can have a bonus sip of water.